I'm John Hinkle, the senior pastor of First Presbyterian Church. This is your Saturday morning preview of your Sunday morning sermon. And by my appearance, I'm sure you're thinking it's Saturday. It's not, it's Friday. But technically, I'm still on vacation, but I needed to go. I thought it might be good if I went over my sermon a couple times before Sunday, and that's what I did. I actually wrote my sermon before we left on vacation, which was really smart of me and really good. So I just went over it and kind of excited about it. We are looking at point number 2 of the Theological Declaration of Barman. By now you know that Barman was written on the eve of World War II by the Confessing Church in Germany as a protest to the State Church of Germany, saying that there was nothing contrary to Nazi policies to the Christian faith. And the Confessing Church, with some of the leaders that you know and familiar with, Karl Barth, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, made it very clear that not only is there conflict between what the Nazis were saying in the eve of World War II, but it is in clear contrast with the teachings of Jesus Christ. So what point number 2 says in the Declaration of Barman is that it is to confess first that Jesus Christ is the head of our lives. The head of our lives, meaning that wherever we go, Jesus goes before us. And therefore, we cannot live our lives thinking that there are areas in our lives that we do not need Jesus Christ. Or, as Barman says it in the second point, that we do not need Jesus' justification and sanctification. That's a fancy word of saying is that we don't need to be forgiven, nor do we need the new life given to us through forgiveness. Now, on paper, as I say in my sermon, that sounds about right. You know, Jesus should be number 1 in our lives. And of course, as Meredith and all the Sunday school teachers and all Sunday school teachers for generations have told, children, is that if there is something more important than our relationship with Jesus, that something then becomes an idol, right? If there's something before us and before our relationship with God, whatever that something is really a God of our own making, if you will. We've created an idol for us to worship. Like I said, on paper, that makes sense. But in practice, it's a whole different story, right? One of the things, and I'm not going to really kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the sermon, but often I think we create idols of our own making. Often, if we would just stop and reflect on the lives we are living, we would go, oh my gosh, how many times does God take a back seat to whatever we are doing in this world again and again and again? Maybe it's just in simple things, Maybe it's when we get in a car and we drive as if we're the only one on the road and nobody else matters. Or maybe it's in more complicated matters. Maybe it's in the way we deal with our family or the way we have a relationship with our friends. But often, a lot of times, we put other things before our relationship with Jesus. And we've gotten so good at that, the worst thing we do, it's worse than, putting something before Jesus. We then begin to justify our actions. We justify those things we put before Jesus. And the way we do it, especially the pious among us, and I throw myself into that camp, we end up wrapping Jesus up in our sinful actions. As if now I'm doing something religious. I'm doing something pious. I'm doing something Jesus would want me to do. When in reality, we're just using Jesus as a scapegoat to allow us to do whatever we want to do. Now you can see how the Confessing Church of Germany would apply this with what was going on in Germany at the time. The question for us today is how does this affect us? Not just as individual followers, but how does this affect us as believers? So I look forward to next Sunday. It's supposed to be cold in the morning. But man, I love this time of year, and I can't wait to be with you. And I hope to see you soon. I hope to see you this Sunday. We'll talk to you later.